Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect. One word conversation, the wrap up show. You guys are I'm just loving it. All the animation going on around. I love this show because one, I get to be in between two lovely human beings, and two, it's just always fun and exciting, and you never know what's going to show up. So,
Yep.
Melissa, this is the opportunity for you to introduce yourself, however it feels comfortable to you.
All right. Well, happy Saturday. Are we doing this live today? Yeah. We're doing it.
No, we're
Saturday.
not doing
Got
it. We're not.
Happy day.
We were going
This is you're losing today. It's Sunday. It's Sunday.
Sunday today.
Happy today.
It's Sunday.
My name is Melissa Price, and I am a author, entrepreneur, mother of two, who have become my little kidpreneurs. They're also running that game right now at an early age, and I'm happy about it. Recently published a book called Lessons We've Learned, Legacies of Life. And that's me.
Oh, wonderful. So Precious, how are you doing on this Sunday?
I am doing amazing. Listen, I still got Sunday in my voice. You know what that means. I pulled myself up to be here. That's what life is all about, showing up. Because God knows I want to show that bed a little bit more time. But
yes,
we serve, and we serve when we come. So I'm just a mom of 5, a wife of 18 amazing years. But most importantly, I'm in a mission, on a purpose, to basically inspire us into better relationships with ourselves so that we can show up every day, because that's what it's about. And so I'm grateful to be and spend this Sunday with you guys.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. So we started off this week of shows with the word distrust. And anytime you talk about distrust, you got to talk about trust. And I think the one thing that it came up, for me is in how that lands is that there is evidence for me not to trust, right? There is, there is something that I did or didn't do, or something that happens that now lets me know that, I need to distrust this, and just kind of go from there. And it was very interesting how there was this, I guess this positive, Abby, kind of really wanted to kind of recapture that, so it wasn't a negative way of looking at things, that it's just like, I trust that you're going to screw me over, right? So I mean, so instead of distrusting, it's like having a positive thing to it. And it was just like, okay, I guess that's one way of looking at it. But I think there's a Maya Angelou quote that says, they'll tell you, like, when they tell you who they are, believe them, right? Right? So it's that type of thing. So you don't have this negative energy around you. And so it was a very interesting conversation around that.
It's actually, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Right.
That's right.
Such a fact. It's such a fact. When I'm thinking with the word distrust, you know what came into my head? I think that we operate in distrust. We all do it because we do it globally instead of personally, which is why I say forgiveness is so important and is key. Because I don't operate in distrust when I forgive, because I forgive myself for missing it, or forgive myself for ignoring the signs. But I don't keep myself in a place where I don't give somebody else the opportunity to show up. And so always when I think about distrust, for me, I always have to get over that thing, because I know it will block my next blessing. That I was supposed to learn something in this. Every moment teaches me something. But if I hold on to that, then I miss the next person that's coming. And so I think that when we deal with distrust, it is for us to pay attention to our surroundings so we could choose wisely for the who we are becoming. But we don't want to get caught in it, because I think sometimes when we distrust this man, we distrust all men. If we distrust this friend, I don't got no friends. And so we make it a global conversation instead of a personal conversation. And we got to let people wear their own outfits. And maybe we're dressing people up in somebody else's clothes because we haven't forgiven the situation or the person. So I think the one thing that I can honestly say I've done through life is let go, move on, and give somebody else the opportunity to be what I need them to be for me, and not capture everybody in one box, because I wouldn't be where I am today.
Gotcha. Wow. So Melissa?
Well, before I get into that, Precious, I got to tell you, your necklace is awesome. And every time you move, it goes, it's like Rudolph's nose.
I'm a Ruby.
Yeah, it's like a big red light that pops up every so often, just like when you're speaking. It brings good attention to you. I like it.
$5 paparazzi. I love it.
I got my paparazzi on today too. So distrust, yeah. It's kind of one of those ick words, you know. We do all do it. I guess what came to my head as the word came up is, when do we distrust and why? Where does it come from? Like, you know, it's a choice to trust. And when we do trust, it's kind of like being vulnerable, you know, you're opening yourself up to whatever comes or whoever comes. So it's a choice. It's also a choice to distrust. Like there's that mindset, the phrase that came to my mind that my mom always used to put in my head growing up was that you're innocent until proven guilty, right? Like giving people the benefit of the doubt. It could be a choice to move through life saying, I'm going to trust you until you screw me over, and not have that distrust there until there's a reason for it. But on the other side, that's opening yourself wide up, right?
Right.
But if we're then on the other side of it, if we just to choose to operate in distrust until somebody proves themselves trustworthy, that's kind of closing ourselves off and isolating. You're missing opportunities, you're missing windows and doors and people and experiences, and shutting yourself off to the experiences of it, I guess, closing the doors on things. So I don't know. That's kind of like what came in my mind with it, is that it's a choice. Do you want to move in distrust, or do you want to move in trust? Do you want to be vulnerable, or do you want to be isolated and closed off? I don't know.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that came up, there's a couple of things that came up when you were speaking, Melissa, and the trustworthiness. I have been really working hard to separate my worthiness from everything, you know, especially my doing, right? And so when you were saying, you know, is this person worthy of my trust? And it's like, you know, at first I wanted to say, you know, well, it depends on what they do, right? Or what they do. And I think on some level, for me, it's like, none of us are trustworthy, because we're all over the freaking map, right? You know, where, you know, there are days where I don't trust myself, and, you know, and I kind of, but my worthiness has nothing to do with my actions or inactions and how the activities around, you know, how I show up. And so I don't know, it was just something that hit me, that, yeah, I'm innocent until proven guilty. And sometimes even when I'm guilty, that's when grace and mercy has to show up, you know, type of thing, you know. Yeah, there may be still consequences and all that other kind of stuff. And I get that, and I guess repercussions, but holding people's worthiness to the, you know, if I currently trust them, I don't know if I want to stay there. I don't know. I don't know why I just got hooked on that.
You got me hooked too. And so
I was about to say the same thing. I'm like,
trusting yourself. When you said that, like, we're all over the map. There's days when we wake up and we don't trust ourselves. So then what? Like, how do you move in that? That really just, for me, like.
And then I'm thinking worthiness seems to be built in these untrustworthy situations, because the worthiness is built in you. So I become worthy because of how I came out of that situation. So that car, it has more value because the condition it is over time. So I think our worthiness begins to build when we go through all of these relationships that bring out that distrust, that extract that thing that we're supposed to be getting, and we still move on. So our worthiness builds from us being able to extract those moments, not get caught in it. But because I moved on, I became more worthy as I function. That's why they say, oh my God, you don't look like your story. It's because as I was going through those distrust, those mistrust, those situations, I think because we keep on going and giving other people chances, we are reminded the evidence in our worthiness, because that's what's valuable. How we stay ourselves, how we bring joy, how we still love, how we smile through the pain. I think that's what makes us worthy.
Wow. Yeah. So
you guys be hitting it.
Right. So it's
about the word.
It's just that, so the next day I went to Standard, right? So there is, I've heard and I've with my kid, this is the standard. This is what, this is what Browns do, right? And you just try to, you try to do that. And it, sometimes the standard kind of like frees you and it kind of confines you. And so how can we have this, honor the framework or the I don't know, the design, and still be free within it. And it was like I said, it was an interesting, conversation, because we talked about, organizations and clubs and everything like that. It's like, okay, this is the standard to do things. And sometimes that standard, you would lose yourself in the standard. You would, when you were working somewhere, it's like, okay, I don't know, this is how we do things. And it's like, do you know that's broken, right? Do you understand that's not helping me get my work done, type of thing? But it's, in some cases, people are so committed to standards instead of to themselves or each other. And it was just very interesting how, I am, law and order guy, give me some rules so I can follow the rules. But, but I may think of another way, but, okay, let me at least have the rules, or, or their standards. And so when there's no standards, there is this potential chaos that that shows up. But that's where the beauty, that's where the excitement, that's where the life shows up. And so it was a very interesting conversation, that how can you like respect, appreciate, have standards, and not have standards so you can live your life.
For me, I think standards are built for me through life, through time. So I can tell you that my standard last year is not my standard this year. So I think my standards are created in situations. So when I was growing up, I created standards that I wanted when I became a parent because of what I didn't like. And so I think I have embedded my own standards through what I think works for me. And so even in being young and married, it's like, oh, well, this one's doing this. Okay. That don't got nothing to do with me. Right. But as a kid, right? Because when you tell your parents, well, she get to go, they don't care about what she doing.
Right. Right.
That's their mama. Go live over there at their house. And so I think standard, and when you say understand and then standard, it is just what you have solid ground with, what reads, foundation for you. So when I think of standard, I think of the place which the foundation of all my thoughts start. I do this because I created a standard because. So everybody's going to have a reason. The thing is, we never sit down and ask the reason you have this standard, but there's always a root to the tree. And so when you were saying the word standard, I'm like, wow, my standards was definitely born through life. Like they have evolved, they have changed. What I said I would not accept, I accepted what I thought. So I think I've evolved through my standards in time. Just being real in the time.
Wow. That's great.
All right. Well, I'm going to flip this on a different side of the coin here.
Okay.
So you guys are talking about standards, like what we measure up to, right? Like the
Mhm.
noun version of
Mhm.
standard.
Right.
What came to my head when I heard the word was not the noun. I had to look that up, but it was the adjective version of standard. It's standard. And when I hear standard, I think of, remember when we did the word ordinary, ordinary
Mm.
versus extraordinary. I
Mhm.
think
Right.
average, I think commonplace, I think standard, you know.
Mm.
I think of the
Wow.
adjective, like the quality, the
Mhm.
characteristic of it. And so standard kind of just sits with me. It like lands, it falls and lands a little flat for me. Like standard.
Mm.
Who wants ordinary? We
Mm.
strive for extraordinary. Who wants
Right.
standard when yeah, we are all kind of expected to be at least standard, right? But
Right.
we strive for above and beyond the standard. So yeah. And who picks the standards anyways? You know,
Right.
yes, there are certain bars, again, like we're all kind of expected to hit, like
Mhm.
don't kill people, don't cheat, don't lie. You know, that's like
Right.
common standards we're all supposed to expect to hit. But I think standards as a whole are different for each person. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
Precious
Right.
was saying, you build your own standards for
Mhm.
yourself. Like, I
Right.
expect myself to be here. I
Mhm.
expect to have my chores done every day and school the kids and have grace and mercy about me and have a positive attitude. Those
Mhm.
are my standards. But Precious, I might call her up and be like, I'm not hitting all these standards. And she might be like, you got too many. You got too
Right.
many. You don't meet all those standards, you know?
Right.
So I guess we're in charge of
Yeah.
building and creating our own standards. We
Mhm.
have our little umbrella that we all must fall under. But then beyond that is our strive to be above and beyond standard in the
Yeah.
adjective sense, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep sitting with the adjective version of it and
Right.
the human desire to want to be more, you know?
Right. Wow.
So
But that's
Yeah.
why I say you measure it by your, you growing. Because when I saw that, I didn't like that, so I created a standard. Is a
mhm.
lot of times we see something that we don't like, which creates a standard, which makes us say, this
Mhm.
is what I will not allow.
Right.
Right.
The status quo. Right.
Standards,
Mhm.
yeah, the standards allow you to rise and level up in, like you said,
I
in
like what
yourself.
you said, it's a foundation. It's
Right.
like a
And
root
we can
or
start.
something, or a
Yeah.
foundation that you build up off of, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I've been married for almost 29 years. And we still have
Congratulations.
we still have, thank you, we still have like challenges where things are in the kitchen. So my mama's kitchen and her mama's kitchen, right? I mean, it's like, it's so after, so it's like, why'd you put that over there, right? This is, I don't know, that's where, that's, it's like, how long you been living here and all that, and it's just like, it's in the house, right?
Show on petty conversations you have when you're married.
Right,
Right. The
it's
refrigerator, like it doesn't go here, it goes there. I always have to be the one to unpack the groceries. I don't care how many bags there are. He'd just start putting stuff in there. I'm like, I always put it here. This is where the eggs go.
right.
Standard.
This is the foundation, right?
Marriage standards could be its own topic. Marriage standards.
Right.
Honey.
So yeah. So it's
standards
just
in marriage, honey. We'll be
Right.
cracking up.
right. So there's most of the times I just leave the kitchen. It's like, okay. It's like, yeah, I was
Before it
wrong.
gets too hot. Before
Right.
it gets too hot,
Right.
get out.
Yeah,
Get
I
on
can't
out.
I can't stand it. So it goes from that to magic. So it was really, really interesting. So it was 11 at 11. And it was really um it was really something. I mean, because there was a lot of different ways that, when when I first started, when magic first came to mind for me, it was like, it's like entertainment, right? It was a magic of entertainment, or it was someone was trying to fool me. There was there
Trickery.
was trickery, right? And so I want nothing to do with trickery, right? Just tell me what's going on. This ain't entertaining. You're messing with my head, because I overthink things already. So I mean, so I'm trying to figure out, the thumb and all that. It's like, So I was like that kid, right? So,
Oh man.
so to really embrace that, magic is like everywhere, right? The magic of life. This, I think she mentioned mentioned like the sparkles, right? And everything. And it's like embracing that, I am magic, right? And it was just really, a lovely conversation because, and I brought up too in the conversation that there are maybe, I think now 5, and it sounds crazy what I'm about to say. You don't know what I'm about to say, but I have like 5 people that I'm friends with that label themselves as witches, and so it's like,
I
okay,
do. So does
it's
my
like,
mom, but not a broomstick witch, but we are
right, I
call each other witches for life because
like the East Wick.
right, so
it's like an energy thing. I don't know.
right. So it's like now I have 6, right? So it's so it was like for me, it's like what? So it's like, all right, live beyond our labels, all that kind of stuff. We're good, all that other thing. But it was like, so really being able to embrace what I heard or what I thought about magic, and then embrace just using it, and just and basically, I guess the power of it within my life, was very interesting within that conversation.
I'll go because I know Precious is going to take this one through the roof. So this is, well, you can talk about it in a minute, but Precious has been doing her Become Your Magic Power Hour for how many days now?
Oh my God. Since October, so what? About 40 something days.
It's been over a month. Okay. So she's going to have plenty to say about magic. And when I just listening to you speak, Bill, I didn't come prepared for magic because it's such a big part of my heart and my life. So I'm just going to pour out from the heart about it.
Yeah. Great.
But, we have these conversations because when you hear other people speak and you hear their feelings and take on the words, it sparks other stuff. But
Right.
I like what you said, that I am magic. Like, I loved your whole idea of magic is trickery and like a performance and whatnot. That never even entered my mind when I thought of magic. The different ends of the spectrum here, but I am magic, and I'm sure Precious is going to touch on it. I like that you said that, and she'll tell you we are, each one of us are magic because only we can do certain things. There's only one thing that I can do that nobody else can do, or maybe I have several things that I can do that nobody else can do, but we were all created that way. But I wrote down when you were talking Santa, stars, sparkles, wishes, energy, and I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. Here's why. When I think magic, to me, magic is so special and so important and so powerful, almost like a faith. It's hope. It's I think of my kids, and when I have to be the tooth fairy, and when I get to put Santa Claus together and watching their eyes light up, and I remember being a kid and having just these sparkles in my eyes and these dreams and these hopes, and like, magic makes everything else in the world okay. With magic, you can put the kibosh on evil. You know what I'm saying? With magic, anything is possible. And yeah, I get emotional with it. Magic is hope to me, and the realization that I can make anything happen. I can make anything happen. And I think all of us can, but yeah, magic brings out the little girl in me. That's still very much a part of my everyday.
Wow. No, thank you.
Sorry.
No, I felt that. Thank you.
For me, as you know, that Become Your Magic happened as a bed conversation. And what I realized, I was just talking over just where we've come, what what I've been through, and all of my experiences with my husband. I was like, you know what, abracadabra, I got magic. Become your magic. I said, and then it was like, I'm doing a show about it. So before I sat down, I'm like, I did the 100-day countdown last year, and it was like in the beginning of October, and God was like, you're gonna do, and I'm like, okay. So I had to look up magic, because I know what it felt like, but I wanted to know. I always want to know exactly what my intention is. I'll get words in my head that I do not know the definition, but they fit right into the poem. When I go back, it's always right. So I always say, as God whispers, I write it down. So when I look at magic, it says supernatural force. The whole premise of us showing up is recognizing that we get to choose. We have the power. So then when I thought about abracadabra, I thought about the moment when the change occurred. Because no matter how long you wait for a moment to happen, it's only one moment that it happens in. That's the abracadabra moment. The moment when you choose to seize it and believe in. So when I thought about the magician, what the magician for me does, it's like everything we're doing in life. There is a dream. We have a vision. We're trying to create. Oh my goodness. We have a dream. We have a vision.
It's like abracadabra moment.
We have a vision that's in our head that is not real, as far as people know, because it's not evidence, because faith is the thing that we think about and cannot see. So now we have this vision of ourselves, and every time we believe in it, we take those moments by becoming our supernatural force. So I'm saying super is being the highest being. That's what makes you one of a kind and perfect. Natural is authentic, meaning that I am that I am. So when I'm natural state, I am authentically me. And the force means impact. When you think of force, you think of an impact. You think of something that came, and however it impacts, you would decide what they left behind. So when I say becoming your magic is choosing to be that highest level of yourself in a supernatural way that's authentic, that allows you to impact every time you go in a room. And so when people remind you, and then I gave people that idea that when somebody comes to you and tell you who you ain't from yesterday, you tell them abracadabra, because at the end of the day, that's what
abracadabra, baby.
It is what you did not believe could happen. It is what I convinced you I can make happen. And this is the evidence. So when I thought of magic, I thought you have the power to create your reality by believing enough to yell it out. Because God says, speak it. The first thing they say is, all right, we're going to make this. They call it. They own it. They don't play with it. They're like, I know the power that I have. And that's the power that we have in our lives. So we can, if a magician can go there and make something disappear and reappear, that's what we do in our lives. So that moment that we're holding on to that keeps us sad, we're magicians. We could take it out. The moment that lifts us up, we could put it back in. And so we can remove and add anything into our life to give it the supernatural force, which is God, the I am. So that's what I think about magic.
Wow.
Now listen, I did not even know that was the definition of magic. So I wrote it down, and everything you were saying, like the super and the natural and all this, I had no idea it was supernatural force. I didn't even bother looking up, because I'm like, I know magic.
I know magic.
I knew magic like that. Like, oh yeah, magic. Pa-da. I
had no idea. So now I'm thinking on that. And then we go back to what Bill said. I am magic. I am a supernatural force.
Period.
And each one of us is our own. We are our own storm, your own type of weather, your own type of rainbow, your own type of storm. There's only one of each of us. That is magic. That is supernatural force. That
see my shirt. Look,
created so different. I know oh yes.
They whispered to her, you can't stand withstand the storm. She whispered back, I am the storm.
That's magic. And I didn't realize you were wearing that. But yeah, that's exactly it. We are each our own supernatural force. I appreciate that you brought the definition out to the table, because I never would have looked it up. I'm not looking it up, because I know.
I am magic. I don't even know who I am.
Oh, that's great.
I appreciate that, though. I really appreciate that.
So
brings extra to the word.
Yeah. So we moved from magic to zest. It's kind of funny, being our age. I don't. You guys are a little younger than me, and I don't know if you remember the zinc, the Zest.
That's
That's what I'm
fully
about to
clean.
say.
Go
Zestfully
I
fully
zest.
wrote it
clean, right?
down.
Yeah, right.
I
You're
was
not
like,
fully clean
write
unless you're
that.
zestfully clean, right?
That's the only thing came to my head just now.
That's fully
Right.
clean.
So it's like they ruined us for what
Is
zest.
that a
So what?
cleanliness zest?
So it was interesting. So what came out within the conversation is that there is this internal um zest. There's this movement that things happening, that the clearing that we she was talking. She's a very unique. She's like she's a practitioner of, I can't remember what it is, but it's a holistic practitioner. So she does a lot of things with herbs and
Ayurveda or something.
oh, yes, you were yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. You do have a great memory.
Yeah.
Was it Hindu, right?
Yeah.
Ayurveda. And
Right.
it's, some kind of meditational practice, right?
Right. So yeah. So
President-
there's
no.
right. So there's meditation and herbs, and there's a lot. There's a lot of things. So so we were talking about really having that cleansing, internal cleansing, and that movement, and so because so often for me there was this zest, do it with zest, and kind of there's this out external thing, there's all this other kind of stuff, and really that there's the zest is a gift, that we have. It's, I forget what she connected it to. I had it, and then it just lost, and I'm sure it may come up for Melissa since she remembers everything. But
I don't know what she said there.
right, but there is this, I don't know if it was grace or something. There was something that there's a flow to your life, and to it, and the reason why, and some of the reasons why we're not moving in zest or have access to zest is because we're weighing ourselves down. Where there's things that are holding on to us. I think Alice Munoz, I'm gonna have a conversation with her again soon. But we were talking about wellness and everything, and she says it's we think it's about what we're eating, but most of the times it's about what's eating us, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and so that is, I think that's how zest shows up or not shows up. There's something else that's causing us to not live in the flow, in the zest of our life. So that was very interesting, and it helped get the jingle out of my head, right?
I haven't heard that jingle in a while, and I have to go look it up. But yeah, every time I hear the word zest, I that's all I think of is so zestfully clean. My grandma, I think, used to have it, and probably that's why I think about it, because I love her and I think of her. But yeah, so zest. I know that's one of the cards in your deck of cards, Precious. We just did that a couple weeks ago. Zest is the spice of life. And since we moved away from the Zest commercial, I'll go into baking. Okay. That's something I love to do. I love to make cupcakes and cookies and breads and all that kind of stuff. So when we talk about the zest, okay, we use the outside of a lime, a lemon, or an orange, right? Just the zest. Just you go too far. You go too far in there, then it's all bitter and nasty. You just get the colored pretty part off, right? And why do we use that? We use it to flavor, right? Just that little bit of zest makes the whole recipe that much more enjoyable. So I don't know. When I think of zest, I think of flavor, I think of spice, I think of just excitement, living a life full of flavor and color and vibrancy and tasting good and smelling good and all of that. I don't know. Zest makes me think of, I guess, a lot of smelly stuff.
Right, a lot of smelly stuff, right?
Smelly stuff.
Smelly and tasty stuff.
That's why they said zestfully clean. They need
So we need more taste. We need more smell. We need more flavor. We need more everything in our lives. More color.
Yeah, it was. I was just reminded, Precious, before you go. I was just reminded as a kid where when I would come out after taking a bath, and my mom would say, "No, you need to go back in there. You missed some spots. Right? You're not sexually
Oh
clean."
no, we're doing that
You
all over. We do.
Oh God, they're raising other boys.
Right.
They come in from the game and like, dude, go straight to the shower, y'all.
Get that zest. Woo.
But when I think of zest, I don't know why I keep on thinking about my grandparents and just the older generation, and the word that comes to mind is oomph. They would say you have no oomph about you.
Yeah.
And that just means a pep in your step. Like you said, a movement. I love that. A zest just means it's an ownership in zest. It is a pride in zest. It's knowing, like you said, you came to bring the flavor. And so when they say you don't have no zest, you don't have no oomph, it means you have no presence. It means you have no voice. You have no, you know what I mean? And so when I think of zest, I think of presence. And which is probably why I got a little pep in my step, because they have always said when you walk in the room, you need to walk in the room.
In the room, right?
Talk about you. Fix your clothes, fix your face, put a smile on, create this energy. And so when I think of zest, I think about that whole, just like all of that stuff added together. Movement. Like I said, we're a movement by ourselves, but we are forced when we're together because we're always moving. So yeah, I think of zest is just a pep in your step, a spunk, a knowing that, listen, it ain't start till I got here. That's
right.
Y'all been waiting for me. I've arrived. The zest is here. The flavors in the dinner. Like that. How much fun will we have? You keep on looking at the door. Who's that?
That is great. The other thing, because that led me to time. So we started talking about time, and it's like when it's just when you were talking about showing up and doing that and doing it with zest, and just the timing of everything, right? There are some times that you can show up with zest and they don't want that. It's like
right.
No, you need to.
Zest don't care.
Right, but it's I think that the biggest thing that came up for me in the conversation around time was how I always felt that I didn't have enough, or I was wasting it. There was something, and I tried to, I don't want to say cheat time, or kind of like just play with time. And so I mentioned or manage it and all that other kind of stuff, because when in college, I brought up the story that my my alarm clock was like set for I think it was like almost like 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time, and so but I was still waking up late because I would be laying in bed kind of doing the math, right? It's like, I got 15 more minutes, right? It's like, and it's like all the things that I did to trick myself to give myself more time, I was just, it didn't work, because time is just moving, right? And so the fact that I'm trying to pause it, I'm trying to do all this kind of stuff, it's like, it's fruitless, but it's something that I consistently do. And it was just, I ended the show with, what is your relationship to time? And it's just, some days are better than other days, but it just, the more that I just go with it, right? It's like, this is what we're going, and be a part of it, then I can enjoy it, instead of this feeling that, I don't have enough, or I'm wasting it in all the other stories that I say around time.
I can say Melissa is probably the best to go last. She's more of a structured being. Let me tell you, in this season, me doing the I Hire Myself challenge, I think that I've been so disrespectful when it comes to time. For my personal, with all that I've accomplished, I know I'm disrespectful with time, if I'm being honest with myself.
Mm.
because I'm a procrastinator and I have unconsciously passed it down to every last one of my kids.
Right.
So everybody's doing the project on Sunday when it's due Monday. Everybody's running around. And so because of the life that I live, I think being a stay-at-home mom for the way I embraced it, right? That freedom, that's me. I'm the free spirit. I'm the, we're going to address it in the moment. You're going to get a speech right here. I don't care what time, So it's like, I'm always in the moment that I lose time. So in this pandemic is when I got to sit down and really realize time. That's how I figured, wow, God gives us 720 hours a month. What did I do with 720 hours last month? God gives us, when we go to work and we pick up momentums to, further somebody else's dream, we give 40 hours of ourselves every day, unconsciously sacrificing everything. So I realized that when it came to relationship with time with ourselves, the reason why we seem to be always chasing something is because we don't control. We're not in control of the time we've been given. And what it made me think of is what God always says, he has no respect to persons. The only way I was able to figure that out in this season was I understand what that means. When, the church folk was like, he's a heathen. How come he's blessed? And I've been praying and coming every Sunday. You know what I realized? It is because of how you spent your time. God gives us 24 hours the same. And when he says you get the power to make the choices, he wants to know, how are you choosing your time? And so when you come to me and ask me for what you want, and I say yes, I have to look over your time clock and how you clocked into you. I have to say, is he ready for the position? I have to say, did he do the work? Because you can't hide from God. And what I realize is that while we're wanting what we want, did we clock in enough to be qualified as far as we know? He pre-qualified us, but until we can see what's already in us, it's like we don't even have it. It's a treasure buried. And so I realized that if I would respect time more, then my life will become more timeless. And instead of me waiting for stuff to happen, I become the magic. So all of that, I'm so it's so crazy that these words are lining up, because that was what got me to where I'm at in this season. Becoming your magic is about seizing the time that God has given you so that you can stand out. So the church folk is supposed to be the person that's got a relationship with God should stand out more, because they value the breath that God has given them. So while you out there working on your dream, what made you any less responsible for the assignment I put in you? And so I realized that when I was intentional with my time, I stopped asking and I just started being.
Wow.
Well, I sit right in the middle of both of you guys, even though I'm on the end in the screen here. But time, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many. I think it's just human nature. We all feel that time is fleeting, and we never have enough, right? There's never enough hours and minutes in the day to do or be or get your fill along with everybody else. And I'm going to take my time here, and I'm going to take my time and shout out Precious and her I Hire Me 30-day challenge, because Queen, I can't tell you how many, I've gone through seasons of depression over not being able to wrangle time. And it was because of your challenge that I realized that I too have been very irresponsible with my time, wasting of my time. I took the time listening to Precious, and I took the time to take this challenge and roll on board with her. And I don't even know what day. I think I started on the 26th. So I'm more than halfway through. I did time management.
What?
Yeah. So this is my schedule. I scheduled in the dog walks when I'm homeschooling the kids. I scheduled in everything. I have a total of 5.5 to 6.5 hours a day that I worked in to clock into me to work on my business and finances and myself,
Wow.
And in order to do that, guess what else I had to do? Schedule the kids. Yes, because if they're not on a tight schedule, guess what? My time's not going to happen. And I'm going to continue to cry and struggle and reach and grasp and grab and wait till, okay, now everybody's asleep. And even though I feel like a complete train wreck at 9, 10 o'clock at night, now I finally have some time for me. And usually at that time, it's like, okay, that's good for a show and a glass of wine. And then it's time for bed.
That's
and I do
it.
it all over again. But
Right.
because of her challenge, I saw how shitty I was being with my time. Bad. And I was causing this myself. I was blaming it on my husband not helping enough. I was blaming it on the kids and homeschooling and having to do this and having to do that. When am I going to be able to do it all? I'm only one person. I can't. I took the challenge and I have more than enough time.
Doing
It was
amazing.
me doing it.
Mm.
It was me.
Wow.
So I have more time than I ever thought that I did. And because I've done this, have been so much happier. I feel
Wow.
accomplished. I feel free. I feel motivated. I feel like things are coming so much easier to me. And also time is a trusting thing, because I gotta throw it up to the big papa upstairs there. Everything happens in God's time, right?
Mm.
So time, I think we should always loop in some patience when it goes along with time.
Yeah.
You know, time comes with, like, work and time go hand in hand. I think patience and time also need to go hand in hand, because no matter how hard you're working and how diligent you're being, if he's not ready for you to move yet, you ain't going. So, but I just want to really shout it out, man. The hiring myself for 40 hours a week has shifted and changed my life, my emotions, my heart, the interactions that I have with my kids. I'm much more present with my kids when I'm teaching them, not trying to multitask and do 101 things at one time. It's been a blessing. So I highly recommend looking into that. Anybody watching, find Precious Calling and check out the Become Your Magic Power Hour, and find the I Hire Me 30-day challenge.
That's
some time back in your life.
Yeah. Buying my time back.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I neglected to do that. I was like, I want to support my sister, but I got too much shit to do. All right. Right. And that's the point. And I missed it.
That's why I told people all the time, you start whatever day. When I started, everybody's days are different. That's why it's the group, because you're only clocking into you. You are your own boss. When I looked at it, less than 6 hours a day, I said 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 2 hours at night. It flies by. It's 24 hours. I said you get 4 quarters to be with yourself. You never leave yourself. So if you got 6, 12, 18, 24, you gave 6 to the sleep in and a little bit more, then if you find that, it's like you're a vehicle. And if I don't feel in my vehicle, if my car, if I go 24 hours without filling up my car over and over and over again, what kind of condition will it show up in? So it's saying that if I have 24 hours and I say I'm worth at least 1/4 of a day to refill me, to be able to work in those roles and titles, because I'm only good because I showed up for me first. That's my overflow. And so that's what I had to learn, that I was unconsciously doing it without even paying attention to the time, because I always made sure that I did for me. And so I was amazing to show up for the kids and for my husband, because I wasn't mad at them because I lost me. So it gave me a great balance and joy. So I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize all the time we really do get.
Right. Wonderful. So I will be starting tomorrow on Monday. So we're doing the challenge. There's look, one of the core values that I have that it helps me, and it kind of like causes me pain, is independence. And there are sometimes that I will fight to like be independent, even against my goodwill. The things that'll take care of me. It's like, hey, don't put your hand on the stove. Don't tell me to put. It's like crazy. Crazy stuff like that. It's like, so it's like you have to like, fool, stop it. It's like they're trying to help you, right? So it's just one of those things. Honor your values. But sometimes your values can just cause you more problems to solve.
That's the solution.
Right, right.
This is it.
So yeah. So the next word, the next word was separation. So it was very, very interesting. And I've been that word has been sitting with me, because I've experienced a lot of loss recently. And so there's a feeling that I have that I think as a country, as a society, we don't handle grief or loss well. It's like we don't teach it. We don't, we have all these, band-aids and all that kind of
You
stuff. And
hide it. Yeah.
we
Cover
hide
it up.
it and, all that other kind of stuff. And I really wanted to look at this word to kind of see what, how I'm dealing it, how I'm managing it, because I have a very strong avoidance gene, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that, right? And it's like even the loss that I've been experienced within my family and family friends, it is, I'm aware of it, but I'm not, it's like it hasn't like hit me yet. Because I go to I'm close with members of my family and people that I care about and that I say that I care about, and I'm not at the same time. So I don't, and it's like it's not the feeling that I need to talk to them every day to let me know that I love them and they love me, but sometimes it feels like that I say that they're very important to me, but there's a large part of what they're dealing with or how they're dealing with life that I have no understanding of. And then now they're gone. And it's like crap. And I will say this before I hand it off to you. I don't know if I shared it within the show or not, but my there was my favorite aunt that I'm going to a memorial service and everything for. Um, I haven't physically seen her for a year, um, and and so, but as soon as she passed, it was like she was a lot closer to me than she was before, and it was like I heard her more, and really kind of there was like no separation within our relationship, even though that I know that I can't, I guess see her. And so it's like, so there is this separation and not this separation that I'm dealing with and trying to dance with and just trying to be with. And it was, um, there is this. I understand, timing and move, and things happen and seasons and all that other kind of stuff. And but there, like I said, there's this feeling that we're never separated. We're never separated. There's just this feeling, there's this distance, there's this something, but there's still not a separation within it. So I don't know. That's like I said, that's how it's been coming up, for me and so yeah, I'll turn the floor over now.
And when you were saying the separation, it made me think of for the couple of years before the pandemic, couple of years back, my husband's grandma had passed. We love Grandma Mark. We went, and this was the first time she didn't want a funeral. She just wanted to be cremated. She had all the stuff that she wanted. For the first time, in that moment, I decided I wanted to be cremated because I've been to, I've lost my grandparents, and, dealt with loss. And it was different this time. It was almost like she never left. I think the funerals that we do, for me, it makes me get anxiety for the separation. Having that ability to just, let go. we took her to the beach. That not going to look at her in the casket. It did something different to me. Even in March, during the pandemic, I lost my father. We weren't able to do funeral. We weren't able to do anything. He's from New York, so it's still that same separation that you're talking about. And I think it doesn't feel as painful for me not having to go through that last step. I know people say it gives reverence, but for my spirit, I just feel like it's more here than not here going the other way. It's almost a celebration of their life instead of me hearing the wails of people not being able to deal with them elevating the let go. And so I think those cries are what gets stuck in my head, and it always puts me in that anxious place to go to a funeral, because that pain of people not being able to deal in that moment with the loss is just overbearing to, I think, the spirit of me. So when I'm in that, I'm just so uncomfortable with the wailing and the people who I don't know how they're gonna be tomorrow. It just feels like, for who I am, it puts a whole lot on me. So I'm like, that just told me that when I pass, I don't want you guys to put me in the ground. I want you to separate from me in a way that I never left. And I think that makes it feel more. You just got that last memory is the memory that I want to keep. The memory of them alive, the memory of laughter, not the memory of crying and wailing, because I know it's a loss, but oh my God, I just want to celebrate the life.
Right.
It's hard to celebrate the life at a funeral, even though we are, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so personal that we're in everybody's business at the funeral. You know, somebody else's business becomes my energy when maybe I came in glad. Now I'm weeping, and now I'm like, I'm not gonna see. So I took on somebody else's energy when I went to the funeral instead of being in my I am. So I think it just bombards one another with each other's feelings, and then you're like, oh, and then you're feeling bad because that person didn't get over that thing. Oh, so the wills are about their own personal experiences, and it tends to take away from the life that you came to celebrate.
Right.
Or loss. So it's separation is different for me.
Right.
Yeah, separation. I have been wiping tears the whole time listening to both of you guys talk, so I'm gonna keep it short. Separation makes me feel very sad. We all have our own battles with it, but when you think of the word separation, I'm gonna try to keep it together. It means to be apart from something. What is ever good tied to having to go away from something? If we're separate from God, boy, that sucks. If we're separate from ourselves, that's probably the reason why we're separate from God. And that sucks. When you think about separations in marriages, that sucks. When people leave us, it sucks. I don't really have anything good to say about this word. I have had a lot of separation issues in my life. Parents leaving and walking out and stuff like that. Separation hurts. That's what I have to say. Separation hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I got. I'm sorry.
No, that's
real.
That's why we have
one word, 3 different responses there.
Right. And that's how we connect with people. That's how we stay. That's how we keep from separating from people, is by listening and being with the emotions of the words. And so, Melissa, I so appreciate your sharing, because I say that I used to say that I'm not a crier, right? But I am not a public crier.
I can't help it. I wish I could control myself.
Right.
I'm glad I ain't crying. Shoot.
Right. And the reason why, and I want to let that label go, because the reason why is because I know that I have spent a large part of my life managing my emotions instead of just experiencing my emotions, right? And so really being because, and I will say this, because there was so much chaos when I was growing up. I didn't want that, and that energy. I didn't want to add to that. I wanted, it was like, I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't, I didn't want to be a part of it. I just wanted to see it. And like, my, my nickname, or a name that people my family would say that, you're a flincher, because it wasn't like, people were hitting me or anything like that, but I could feel rage, anger, disappointment, that would show up in the room, and it was like, oh,
You're an empath.
right. It's like, back up. I've never used that before, so maybe that's it. But and so I really, I have this thing that I want to keep this balance, this grounded, this, like you were saying earlier about standard, that where's the foundation, so I can show up in situations, because there's a large part of my purpose, and that came up, that I believe that there is this grounding, there is this, it's not a balance, but there is something that I am. There is this calmness that I am being asked to give. And so, but the only way that I can really show up as calm and really do it, and it's not a facade, and it's not just something that I put on, that I do the internal work, that I love myself and really kind of embrace who I am and how I'm showing up, so I can have that assurance, because I'm not separated from myself.
Yeah.
Right. And just kind of embrace that. And so, like I said, I didn't know if, because, I'm reaching this age where a lot of my uncles and, and aunts and a lot of people, are at that age, of passing on and transitioning. So I need to deal with this, right? It's like, right. So, and so it's like, when someone is, like 90 years old, and they pass, and people are like, well, it's expected, right? All that kind of stuff. But when there's people that you went to school with that are in their 50s, or someone that and it just like, it just does something, to you, and like I said, that separation. So I believe that there is, there's a duality to everything. So even within the pain of separation, there is a joy. There is something. There is I don't want to say a positive and a negative, right? There is, right.
Always, and I was gonna say that. That's what I wanted to say. I was gonna say is, when I learned to sit, and I often say that this is what pulls me out of my valleys, is sitting in my advantage moment. That advantage and not my disadvantage. And every time I'm in that emotional state, feeling like the world, God is picking on me, I just sit back and I just look out at all the stuff. And so when I'm losing somebody, I think, oh my God, they never had a parent. When I'm going with this, I think, oh my God, this person never had that. And so I start to be grateful of the time that I did get, because there's so many people that never even have that as a definition.
Right.
And so that is the advantage point that we get to celebrate. We got to celebrate the truth. And the truth is, we don't know when somebody comes, and we don't know when somebody goes. And if you are in the realness of that, like you said, and there's no love lost, I don't care if I didn't speak to you in 10 years. I'm going to celebrate you. But I'm not going to beat myself up about what time did, because it's not personal. We're all living. And I think that's another thing we say, oh, I wish I would have called. If you would have called, or if you should have called, you would have called. Let the things go. We resurrect the wrong things in death. And the only thing to resurrect, that it is what it is. I'm gonna be in the moment, because this is one thing we cannot avoid or fight. And so the question is, and like I said, it's easier having not lost people so close. You understand? Like, like I said, even grandparents, people's grandparents' relationships are different. You know,
Mhm.
so just like I said, like your father could walk you down the aisle. My father relationship is different. And so because the roles and since those definitions are different, the pain that I endured is different. So maybe I died before and not today. Maybe I
Mm,
already died to that situation. So, you know,
right.
it's different. So I think we got to be okay with owning the reality of those moments. And it's hard, like you said, Melissa, dealing with it, but it's inevitable. It is
Mm,
so inevitable. And I think that if we can just take those moments to just smile about what we gained from it and not what we lost, it'll change the energy of what it means to you. And so instead of thinking about the loss of it, we think about what we got. And what we got was that quality of life that makes us want to cry. And that's enough to celebrate, you know?
great. Wonderful. Just take a
Mm.
breath
Hard,
right there.
It's
Just
an
take a breath
emotional
right
hard
there.
show today.
I know.
From
It's
here
like
to
It's hard living with these one word. That's what I'm saying.
quite a show
Taking
today.
us out.
so yeah, so as you know, as we wrap up, we're going to look at the words that are coming up next week. Melissa, you're going to have to help me with the first the French word
Arate.
arate. So
Arate.
that's
R-A-T-E.
arate is the first word is is tomorrow. Rapid, season, values, sobriety, and calling. So yeah, you know what? We have some powerhouse people.
Yeah.
We have some
How many
powerhouse
people saying,
people,
hello, God, we hear you.
right?
Right.
We have Tuyani
Jamie, yeah. What's her
and
word?
sobriety.
She's doing sobriety. I gotta.
And Brittany Thomas
Love
is
Brittany.
doing season.
Oh, you got them both this week?
Yeah, I got them both.
Tails.
I know we got the power,
Good.
the power group. So
Brittany.
yeah. So any of those any of those words or within that conversation, what's showing up for you guys?
I want rapid to be in effect this year. Rapid in my life. But calling, values, I think that's just gonna be a powerful week.
All of them, really. Well,
Right.
like I said, arate stood out to me because that is French for stop. And then your next word after that is rapid. So it's like stop and go.
Right.
So yeah, there's duality there.
Sounds right.
But for myself personally, I would say sobriety calls out to me. Calling is always one. I think that all three of us are like, yeah, we
Mhm.
like that word. But
Right.
I would say arate and the sobriety would
Mhm.
be ones I'll be ready to speak about next week.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's really for me, sobriety has been showing up for me a lot, and because I was like this in this moment of transition and clarity and all that other kind of
When I
stuff.
think of sobriety, does that mean no alcohol? No.
No,
Yeah, I know, right?
it's just
Except for
the,
that
What is
part.
sobriety actually? Let me look that up.
Except we still
It's-
get to have our wine.
Sober,
right.
Every
It's just it's just clear of mind. It's just just that's what So whatever you need to do to clear your mind is okay with. It's
well,
1 o'clock
can mean
somewhere, right?
Shot
Right.
once in a
cup of
while.
wine.
Take
Okay.
a shot once in a while.
It's 1 o'clock somewhere, right?
It's 1 o'clock.
Always.
But ladies,
Oh.
this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you. Yes, there's emotions there. There's a lot of things, and I'm like I said, I am just honored that not only that you show up, but you show out, and that's for me when I first heard that I guess that term or that saying, I was like, you're too much, right? You're doing too much. Right? But it's like really, we're being called to one. We both have to show up, right? And then when our light is on, right, we show out, right? We
Wow.
show right. We show the world. We help people that see their switch. We do all those things, and I think that's what happens within these conversations. That our light shines, and then we kind of see each other. And so yeah, uh, yeah, that's how I'm going to leave it. Like I said, I don't know how I close this show. That does anybody want to say anything before I say my last statement?
I just want to say you can never turn on anybody else's light, but you can provide enough light for them to find their switch. Just stay lit in the world so somebody can find their way out of the darkness.
Gotcha.
This is just the best part of my week. Every week that I get to be
I
here.
love it. Me too.
I want to say thank you guys for dealing with that. I have to look into that too, because separation isn't a word that normally has caused that reaction. I think that's probably why I was extra emotional, is because I'm like, what's happening to me right now? Why is this happening? I didn't know I had a problem with it until we started talking about it. So, yeah, I apologize for that.
Oh, please, no
apology.
This is why I love the show, though. And so my last words would be, one word can mean so many different things to so many different people. So think about what you say before you say it, and listen to people. Hear what they're saying, not just with the word. You take the time and say, okay, she's saying separation, but separation of Precious, separation of Bill, separation of me. Wow, all different reactions, right? So really meet people where they're at when you're choosing your words and when they are choosing theirs. I just love the show because it really, I don't know, it brings magic to words, supernatural force to words, baby.
Wow.
So yeah, choose your words wisely and listen carefully this week. And thank you for having me again.
Oh, wonderful. I guess the one thing that I'm really like embracing within my tagline, that it's sometimes it's for me, that I'm like speaking to myself, right? And reminding myself that the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you.
Go be you.
Go.
Have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll see you next week on One Word Conversations.